George Orwell, Voice of Freedom, Eye on Power. Reading and published by Mr. Books. Introduction. George Orwell, born Eric Arthur Blair in 1903, remains one of the most significant literary figures of the 20th century. With a fervent belief in social justice, he became the voice of dissent against oppressive regimes and a champion for clarity in language and thought. His works reflect a deep skepticism of political authority and a profound understanding of the mechanisms through which power operates, particularly in totalitarian states. Orwell's experiences, from his time in colonial Burma to his disillusionment with socialist movements during the Spanish Civil War, shaped a worldview that was both critical and nuanced. He witnessed firsthand the chilling effects of totalitarianism, which galvanized his resolve to expose the fallacies of propaganda and the subjugation of individual freedoms. His writings serve not only as reflections of his era, but also as pressing warnings applicable to the contemporary world. The chapters that follow explore Orwell's life and works in detail. Chapter 2 delves into the historical context of totalitarianism, examining how emerging political ideologies facilitated Orwell's critique of society. The subsequent chapters dissect his seminal texts, 1984 and Animal Farm, highlighting their literary and political significance. We will also delve into his essays, Where the Essence of Freedom Takes Form, and analyze his lasting legacy on modern thought. This book seeks to unravel the complexities of Orwell's voice, a voice that continues to resonate in our struggles against oppression and the maintenance of freedom in the face of state power. Through this exploration, we aim to understand not only Orwell's relevance in the past, but also the enduring nature of his insights in a world that, at times, mirrors the nightmares he envisioned. Before we dive in, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button to support the channel. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss an audiobook that could change your life. Now, let's begin. Enjoy. Chapter 1. The Early Years, Influences and Ideals. George Orwell's formative years were marked by experiences that greatly influenced his ideological stance and literary output. Born into a modest family in Motihari, India, Orwell was the son of a British colonial official. His early life in the colonies instilled in him a sense of ambivalence toward imperialism and authority, a sentiment that would echo throughout his career. When he returned to England, he was educated at Eton, a privilege rare for someone of his socio-economic background. Yet despite the academic opportunities, Orwell felt estranged from the elite class. His rebellious spirit pushed him towards socialism. His early exposure to literature, particularly the works of writers like Jack London and H.G. Wells, fueled his dissatisfaction with capitalism and inspired a quest for a more equitable society. After Eton, Orwell chose to fight against the injustices of colonialism in Burma. His experiences there, particularly the moral dilemmas he faced as a colonial officer, deepened his critique of totalitarian regimes. The pivotal moment came when he shot an elephant, an action that symbolized the oppressive power he wielded over the local populace. This incident marked a turning point, leading him to resign his position and return to England, where he committed to becoming a writer. Orwell's early writing reflected a struggle to articulate his ideals amid the chaos of his times. His first major work, Down and Out in Paris and London, depicts his experiences of poverty and disillusionment. The stark realism of his prose uncovers the harsh realities of life in the working class, contrasting dramatically with the romanticized notions of socialism held by many intellectuals. The 1930s brought significant shifts in Europe, with the rise of fascism and the tumult of the Spanish Civil War. Orwell, propelled by his convictions, traveled to Spain to fight against Franco's fascists. This direct confrontation with totalitarianism cemented his belief that ideological purity could lead to ruthless violence and betrayal. His novel Homage to Catalonia chronicles his disillusionment with the infighting among leftist factions, revealing the complexities of political allegiance. Throughout his early years, Orwell's commitment to social justice and his distaste for authoritarianism crystallized in his writing. He adopted a utilitarian approach, advocating for clarity and honesty in language as a means to combat political manipulation. This ethos would later manifest in his principles regarding the importance of truth, both in literature and politics. In examining Orwell's early life, it becomes clear that his experiences, struggles, and evolving ideals shaped his future as a writer and thinker. The influences that forged his perspective on power, freedom, and oppression laid the groundwork for his later, more famous works, where these themes would be explored with even greater profundity. Chapter 2: The Rise of Totalitarianism, a Historical Context. The 20th century witnessed the emergence of totalitarian regimes that reshaped societies and stifled individual freedoms. Understanding this context is crucial to grasping the urgency and relevance of George Orwell's critique of power. Totalitarianism, characterized by an absolute concentration of power and the obliteration of dissent, developed in various forms across Europe and beyond, primarily in the wake of World War I and during the interwar period. The devastation of the Great War created fertile ground for revolutionary ideologies. In Russia, the Bolshevik Revolution of 1917 overthrew the monarchy, aiming to establish a classless society. However, the resulting regime under Lenin and subsequently Stalin morphed into a totalitarian state, marked by severe repression, censorship, and the eradication of political opposition. The state's reliance on propaganda and the manipulation of language becomes a focal point in Orwell's works, particularly noted in his exploration of Newspeak in 1984. In Germany, Adolf Hitler's rise to power in the 1930s exemplified another facet of totalitarianism. The Nazi regime's strict control over all aspects of life, including the economy, culture, and education, aimed to suppress dissent and promote an ideology rooted in racial superiority. The chilling efficiency of state propaganda, exemplified by the Ministry of Truth, highlighted the dangerous intersection of technology and totalitarian governance. These oppressive systems shared common features: an ideology that demanded absolute loyalty, control over information, suppression of individual freedoms, and the cultivation of fear. Orwell's observations of these regimes were informed by his experiences, particularly during the Spanish Civil War, where he witnessed firsthand the destructive nature of ideological extremism. Orwell's response to these totalitarian impulses was not merely to document their rise, but to analyze their implications on human freedom and morality. His understanding of political dynamics influenced his literary output, compelling him to warn against the seductive nature of power. In 1984, the party's relentless surveillance and the concept of doublethink served as stark reminders of the lengths to which oppressive regimes would go to maintain control. The historical context of totalitarianism is critical in understanding the urgency behind Orwell's message. His works serve as a prescient warning about the fragility of freedom in the face of rising political powers. This exploration of the totalitarian impulse not only critiques past regimes, but also resonates with contemporary struggles against authoritarianism and the erosion of civil liberties. In conclusion, the rise of totalitarianism is a central theme in Orwell's work, shaping his critique of power and its impact on individual agency. By situating Orwell's ideas within this historical framework, we gain insight into the persistent relevance of his voice and the cautionary tales embedded in his literature. As we navigate an increasingly complex political landscape today, Orwell's warnings pulsate with renewed vigor, reminding us of the enduring battles for freedom and justice that echo through time. Chapter 3, 1984, Dystopia as Warning. George Orwell's 1984, published in 1949, stands as one of the most influential dystopian novels of the 20th century. Its chilling portrayal of a totalitarian state governed by incessant surveillance, oppressive bureaucracy, and the manipulation of truth serves as a dire warning against the erosion of personal freedoms and the consequences of unchecked political power. Set in a grim future where the state controls every aspect of life, 1984 reflects Orwell's deep concerns about totalitarianism and its implications for individual autonomy. The narrative unfolds in Airstrip 1, formerly known as Great Britain, now a province of Oceania. The protagonist, Winston Smith, works at the Ministry of Truth, where he is tasked with altering historical records to fit the party line. This alteration not only underscores the manipulation of information, but illustrates the concept of doublethink, the ability to hold contradictory beliefs simultaneously, a hallmark of totalitarian thought. Through Winston's experiences, Orwell critiques the malleability of truth under oppressive regimes. A central theme in 1984 is the omnipresence of the party, embodied by Big Brother, the symbolic leader who demands absolute loyalty. The party employs various techniques to maintain control over the populace, including surveillance via telescreens, the persecution of dissidents, and the eradication of personal relationships. The party's motto, "War is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength," encapsulates the moral contradictions that sustain its power and the depersonalization of individuals. Orwell's depiction of Newspeak, a language designed to limit thought and expression, illustrates the state's manipulation of language as a tool for control. By simplifying language and eliminating undesirable words, the party aims to restrict the range of thought and ultimately crush dissent. This notion resonates with Orwell's belief in the connection between language, thought, and power as articulated in his essays. He argues that the degradation of language leads to the degradation of thought, making individuals incapable of critical analysis or rebellion. The narrative structure of 1984 plays a crucial role in conveying its themes. As Winston becomes increasingly disillusioned with the party, he seeks out truth and resistance, engaging in a forbidden love affair with Julia, a fellow party member. Their relationship becomes an act of rebellion, a momentary escape from the oppressive regime. However, their hope for resistance is ultimately crushed by the merciless machinery of the party, culminating in their betrayal and reprogramming, symbolizing the futility of resisting totalitarianism. The bleak ending of 1984 serves as a powerful indictment of totalitarianism and the subjugation of the human spirit. Winston's transformation from a questioning spirit into a compliant follower of Big Brother underscores the terrifying capacity of oppressive regimes to crush individuality and dissent. The novel leaves readers with a haunting sense of despair regarding the fate of personal freedom in a world where truth is malleable and loyalty to the state is absolute. Through 1984, Orwell compels readers to confront uncomfortable truths about power, loyalty, and the fragility of freedom. The novel serves not only as a chilling forecast of potential futures, but also as a poignant reminder of the implications of political apathy. As contemporary society grapples with issues of surveillance, misinformation, and the manipulation of truth, Orwell's warnings resonate with alarming relevance, urging vigilance in protecting individual freedoms against encroaching authoritarianism. As we examine 1984, we must reflect on the nature of power and its capacity to shape reality. Orwell masterfully crafts a narrative that serves as both a cautionary tale and a call to action, reminding us of the importance of critical thought and personal integrity. Chapter 4: Animal Farm, Satire and Allegory. Animal Farm, published in 1945, stands as another cornerstone of Orwell's critique of totalitarianism, blending allegory with satire to expose the corruption of revolutionary ideals. Orwell draws on the events surrounding the Russian Revolution and the subsequent rise of Stalinism to illustrate how power can corrupt even the noblest of intentions. Through the lens of farm animals, Orwell dissects the mechanisms of oppression and the deceptive nature of political rhetoric. The narrative begins with the animals of Manor Farm, inspired by Old Major, a prize boar who dreams of a rebellion against their human owner, Mr. Jones. The animals, fueled by their desire for equality and freedom, successfully overthrow Jones, establishing Animal Farm. Initially, the new regime appears promising, embodied by the principles of animalism, which advocate for unity, equality, and collective welfare. However, as the pigs, led by Napoleon and Snowball, seize control, the farm's utopian vision quickly deteriorates into tyranny. Orwell's use of animals serves to humanize and simplify complex political notions, making them accessible to a broader audience. The pigs, representing the revolutionary leaders, gradually distort the principles of animalism to consolidate their authority. The initial slogan, "All animals are equal," morphs into the chilling maxim, "All animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others." This transformation exemplifies the betrayal of revolutionary ideals, as those in power manipulate language and ideology to justify their actions. The character dynamics in Animal Farm highlight the theme of power and its corrupting influence. Napoleon's use of propaganda, administered through Squealer, a pig known for his persuasive rhetoric, illustrates the significance of controlling information. The gradual alteration of commandments and the constant revision of history symbolize the malleability of truth in the hands of those seeking power. Orwell deftly captures the essence of totalitarianism. Despite the animal's initial hopes, the farm becomes a reflection of its former oppression under Jones. Through the character of Boxer, the hard-working horse, Orwell critiques blind loyalty and the exploitation of the working class. Boxer epitomizes the proletariat dedicated to the cause, yet ultimately betrayed by those he trusted. His mantra, "I will work harder," reflects the idealism perpetuated by totalitarian regimes, where the sacrifices of the masses are exploited by the elite. Boxer's tragic fate serves as a poignant reminder of the human cost of political corruption and the illusion of progress. The narrative culminates in a grim recognition of the cyclical nature of power. As the pigs begin to resemble humans, the boundary between oppressor and oppressed blurs, highlighting Orwell's belief that without vigilance, revolutionary ideals can easily devolve into tyranny. The poignant ending, where the animals can no longer distinguish between the pigs and humans, serves as a powerful indictment of the corrupting influence of power and the fragility of freedom. Animal Farm resonates profoundly with Orwell's critique of totalitarianism, offering a cautionary tale about the nature of power and the ease with which noble ideals can be subverted. As contemporary societies grapple with their political realities, the lessons embedded in Orwell's Allegory remain pressing and relevant. The novel serves as a reminder of the importance of accountability, transparency, and the imperative to challenge oppressive structures in the pursuit of justice and equality. In summation, Animal Farm exemplifies Orwell's mastery of narrative and socio-political commentary. Through its allegorical framework, the novel dissects the intricacies of power dynamics, urging readers to remain vigilant against the seductive allure of authority, while championing the enduring significance of autonomy and integrity. Chapter 5: The Essence of Freedom, Essays and Articles. George Orwell's essays and articles are crucial for understanding his philosophical stance on freedom and politics. Unlike his fictional works, which offer narrative representations of themes, his non-fiction writings provide explicit explorations of the human condition in relation to societal structures. Through a close reading of various essays, one gains insight into Orwell's perspective on authentic freedom compared to the superficial freedoms propagated by totalitarian regimes. Most notably, in essays such as Politics and the English Language, Orwell argues that the degradation of language reflects a degradation of thought. He posits that clear language nurtures clear thought, which is fundamental for genuine political discourse and freedom. In his critique of convoluted bureaucratic language, he identifies how political elites manipulate language to obfuscate meaning, create confusion, and maintain power. His insistence on the relationship between language and thought underscores a central tenet of his philosophy, that the struggle for freedom is inherently tied to the clarity of expression. Additionally, Orwell's exploration of the notion of freedom varies significantly from the abstract freedoms often touted in propaganda. In Why I Write, he presents a personal narrative that contextualizes his writing as a pursuit that intertwines with his fight for political honesty and truth. He notes that the act of writing itself becomes an act of rebellion against a conformist society, illustrated in the way he highlights personal accountability and integrity as prerequisites for a free society. Moreover, his essay The Lion and the Unicorn critiques British imperialism, while envisioning a future where socialism could potentially sow the seeds of freedom. Here, Orwell argues for an equitable society, promoting the idea that true freedom can only be achieved through social justice, challenging the status quo. Through these writings, Orwell consistently returns to the themes of authenticity and moral responsibility. His belief in the individual's role in safeguarding their freedom against infringement by the state or society reflects his wider political philosophy. Indeed, his stark warning against the ease with which societies slip into authoritarianism serves as a potent reminder to modern readers. The preservation of freedom requires vigilance, clarity of purpose, and unwavering integrity. Chapter 6. The Legacy of Orwell: Impact on Modern Thought. George Orwell's legacy extends far beyond his own literary canon. It profoundly influences contemporary discourse on governance, civil liberties, and social justice. The lasting relevance of Orwell is evident in political, cultural, and social discussions, particularly within contexts dealing with issues of transparency, integrity, and the misuse of power. The most palpable aspect of Orwell's legacy is perhaps his prescient understanding of totalitarianism, especially in relation to contemporary authoritarianism that often employs sophisticated forms of surveillance and manipulation. The insights presented in 1984 resonate strongly in today's digital age, where governments and corporations possess unprecedented capabilities to monitor citizens. Orwell serves as a chilling precursor to the concerns surrounding privacy and civil liberties, compelling modern audiences to reflect critically upon the structures of their own societies. Orwell's advocacy for social equity manifests in significant cultural movements that echo his ideals. The essence of his writings has proliferated in social justice movements, which seek to confront systemic inequalities and champion the voices of the disenfranchised. His potent critique of capitalist structures, in tandem with the exploration of human rights, continues to inspire activists and thinkers alike. Leaders in these movements draw on Orwellian principles to articulate their demands for social reform and governmental accountability. In academia, Orwell's works are essential texts within literary studies, political science, and sociology. Scholars analyze the intricate narratives and themes present in his work to illustrate the complexities of human behavior in relation to political structures. The academic examination of his theory of language, particularly its power to shape reality, further cements his status as a critical thinker who transcends the literary canon. Moreover, Orwell's moral clarity fosters a framework for ethical discourse in both journalism and politics. His alertness to the language of power informs ethical journalism, prompting modern media to adhere to principles of honesty and integrity. In an age rife with misinformation and fake news, Orwell's admonitions concerning the distortion of truth become increasingly relevant, urging society to prioritize factual accuracy over sensationalism. Orwell's multifaceted legacy also invites reflection on the relationship between individual responsibility and societal structures. His works act as a call to action, emphasizing that the preservation of freedom demands active participation from citizens. The continuing relevance of Orwell's insights invites scrutiny of contemporary issues, asserting the importance of his voice as both a harbinger and a guardian in the protection of freedoms. Chapter 7: The Evolution of Language, Newspeak, and its Implications. George Orwell's conception of Newspeak in 1984 provides a stark analysis of how language can be manipulated to serve the interests of power. It reflects Orwell's belief that language is not merely a tool for communication, but a mechanism through which thought and ideology are shaped and controlled. As societies grapple with the implications of Orwell's work, understanding the evolution of language becomes paramount in recognizing its role in safeguarding or undermining freedom. Newspeak is designed deliberately to diminish the range of thought by restricting vocabulary. The language eliminates words that could promote rebellion or dissent, facilitating the government's ability to exercise totalitarian control. For instance, concepts such as freedom or rebellion are stripped from the vernacular, rendering citizens incapable of conceiving such ideas. This manipulation of language serves as a powerful example of how linguistic practices can dictate political realities. The implications of Newspeak extend beyond the realms of fiction into real-world contexts, where governments and corporations favor euphemisms and jargon to obscure their actions. Political discourse frequently employs language as a tool for deflection, where collateral damage becomes a sanitized term for civilian casualties. Just as Orwell warned, the evolution of language in contemporary society often aligns with the preservation of power over transparency. Furthermore, the phenomenon of doublespeak, a term that echoes Orwellian principles, highlights the duplicity often present in modern communications. This manipulation encourages a disengagement from reality, creating a populace that is apathetic or confused. In an era characterized by digital media and information overload, the ability to discern truth from contrived narratives has never been more critical. Orwell's emphasis on language as a vital component of thought control urges contemporary societies to remain vigilant about linguistic practices. The recognition that language shapes our understanding fosters a collective responsibility to cultivate a culture of clear and honest communication. By resisting the limitations imposed by Newspeak-like practices, individuals can maintain their autonomy and push back against oppressive narratives. In sum, the examination of language through the lens of Orwell reveals that controlling language is a fundamental means of controlling thought. As societies continue to navigate the complexities of communication in an ever-changing landscape, embracing the legacy of Orwell entails a commitment to the integrity of language, a robust tool for freedom and empowerment. Conclusion: the continued relevance of Orwell's voice. In reflecting upon the enduring relevance of George Orwell's work, it becomes clear that his reflections on freedom, power, and language are integral to the discourse surrounding contemporary societal challenges. His insights not only critique the structures of his time, but serve as a beacon for navigating the complexities of modern governance and individual rights. Orwell's unwavering commitment to truth and integrity resonates powerfully in today's world, where misinformation threatens the foundations of democratic societies. The warning present in 1984 about the corrosive effects of propaganda and surveillance is increasingly echoed in discussions about contemporary privacy wars and the unchecked powers of both state and corporate entities. The preservation of individual rights amidst overwhelming systems of control remains a pertinent struggle, urging new generations to remain vigilant. Additionally, the call for authentic expression in language, as articulated by Orwell, is quintessential in our current socio-political climate. As we engage in dialogues about propaganda, media integrity, and critical thinking, Orwell's concept of clear language becomes essential in fostering an informed citizenry capable of challenging authoritarianism. His belief in the power of the individual to resist subjugation stands as a rallying cry for maintaining freedom in increasingly constrictive environments. Ultimately, the legacy of George Orwell implores us to critically examine our environments, both linguistic and political, enabling us to discern threats to liberty and justice. As his voice reverberates through time, it challenges each of us to embrace the responsibilities that come with freedom, ensuring that the lessons learned from history do not fade. In doing so, we honor Orwell, not just as a critic of power, but as an advocate for the continuing fight for human dignity and autonomy, reaffirming the timeless necessity of his contributions to literature and thought. If you found this video helpful, inspiring, or entertaining, don't forget to hit that like button. And if you're new here, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss out on future content. Your support means the world. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.